What is up, fine folks? Welcome back to Double Tapped, episode 2. I am Jay.
I'm Tanner. I thought you were going to go Electric Boogaloo there. I was very curious.
I've never understood that reference.
So there was a movie called Breakin', which was a breakdancing movie.
Okay.
That had some critical acclaim, I think in the either late 70s or early 80s. And they notoriously released a sequel really quickly after called Breakin' It, maybe it was Breakin' It, to Electric Boogaloo.
So it has nothing to do with Electric Avenue, the song.
No,
okay.
Just a coincidence there.
That would have been my, completely baseless theory.
Yeah.
But we're back. This is episode 2. Today we're having some Michelob Ultra Lime and Prickly Pear Cactus.
I didn't realize
to be very specific.
Pear, yeah.
Do you know what a prickly pear is?
No.
I mean, I always thought that it was just a pear of, I didn't know it was a real fruit. I thought it was maybe some kind of a brand of sweetened liqueur or something.
Yeah.
But no, it's actually a fruit that comes from a cactus.
Oh.
So
there you go.
That's a little botany.
What do they look like? Do they look like prickly little?
I think they're purplish, pinkish.
Huh.
I don't know if they actually have the cactus spines on them, but
gotcha. Okay.
I'll never attempt to eat one because
they're dangerous.
I don't live near any cactuses.
Oh, there you go.
So,
okay,
Tanner,
good to know.
What have you been playing recently? What you been into?
I have been playing. I just recently finished The Legend of Zelda: Wind Waker HD.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I finished it yesterday, and played it for about 40 hours. I'd say roughly, maybe a little bit longer than that. I played it in 10 streams, so however much gameplay that breaks down into, but really enjoyed it. I'm kind of interested. I haven't been far enough removed from it yet to know exactly where it lies rankings-wise for me.
In terms of the Zelda series?
Yeah, so I have played... Breath of the Wild was my first Zelda, because I didn't grow up with them. So Breath of the Wild was my first, Link to the Past, Ocarina. Majora's I only played a bit of because it's an impossible game to stream. A lot of people have tried streaming that game, and if you don't know what you're doing, just the time mechanic of it makes it so hard to With streaming, you normally take a longer time to play through something than if you're just playing it on the couch. And that time spent talking to chat or just thinking through your stuff
just throws off the whole rhythm.
Yeah, exactly. It just makes it really hard to stream. So I didn't finish it. I probably got a third of the way through it, maybe. So I don't really feel like I can count that game. This game, Wind Waker, is really interesting to me because the art style is amazing.
Yeah.
And the gameplay is so fun. It's the most calm, probably, of the Zelda games. There with Breath of the Wild.
Yeah, as someone who... I've only played Breath of the Wild.
Yeah.
If I was just looking at the entire roster and I was forced to pick whatever next one I was going to play, it would 100% be Wind Waker.
See, you and I are similar in that way, because this is the one... I basically decided I was going to play through all of them after playing Breath of the Wild just to get to Wind Waker.
Yeah.
That is the one...
That was your excuse.
Yeah, exactly. That's the one I've been waiting to get to the whole time. And I'm glad I did. Ocarina, I know it has a reputation for being one of the greatest games of all time. I agree with that. And it actually didn't underwhelm me, which I was surprised by because, it's such a hard expectation to live up to. It has aged a little bit, obviously, because all N64 games have. But really, I can't count Majora's really, but between Breath of the Wild, Ocarina, Link to the Past, and this, they are all so solid. It's insane. There's not been a miss yet.
I will get around to it one of these days. Of going down the time machine rabbit hole and just playing at least a lot of them. I'm not going back to Zelda 1 on the NES, but
no, I was going to, and then I was told by pretty much everyone
don't bother.
It's not.
Where do people recommend you start?
Link to the Past, which is the Super Nintendo one. That's the first Link to the Past. Playing Ocarina is made better by having played Link to the Past because they take a lot of the same concepts and put them into 3D. You can really see the thought process, and that's really cool. But Zelda 1 and 2, to my knowledge, are a lot more proof of concept-y, just this is what a video game can be because nobody had adventure games yet. So Link to the Past is the first real polished 10, I think, of the group. So.
Gotcha. Well, I've been playing a weird mishmash of things.
Okay.
Really just looking for... I'm on the quest for whatever that next thing I'm going to sink a lot of time into is.
Yeah.
Falling back down the Rocket League rabbit hole happens periodically.
It always does.
I'm up to gold rank of... I just do competitive one-on-one duels a lot.
Really? Interesting.
And it's fun. I probably win half the time.
Yeah.
Like 50-50.
We should play more.
I'm all about it. That's one, and that's the more I think about it, I don't have like Rocket League in my like top 10 games of all time. It probably should be.
Yeah.
Like, just based on how many hours I've poured into it and how much fun it continues to be.
Yeah.
It's always a solid game to go back to.
I played a lot on PC with a couple of my friends. Like, I'm gold 1, I think.
Yeah.
But it's just in 2v2 and 3v3 now. But yeah, just nothing scratches that itch.
No.
There's nothing like that. It's like we were talking about Monkey Ball recently.
Yeah.
To sort of preview a future episode idea. But like that game, if you want to play Monkey Ball, there's nothing like it. If you want to play Rocket League, there's no other salve for it.
Now, another little thing that I've been playing just because, we talked a little bit, and I sort of continue to unveil my Dragon Ball Z fandom.
Yeah.
I decided to just, go all in. I was like, I'm going to pay $60. I'm going to try Dragon Ball Z Kakarot.
Yeah, what are your thoughts?
It is the most unnecessary RPG I have ever played.
Whoa.
Like,
how so?
Okay. So the combat of it is, if anyone has ever seen Dragon Ball Z or Xenoverse or Xenoverse 2, the combat is pretty much the same, where it's sort of a dome that you can kind of maneuver in. It's not as crisp. I talked about this, where it's not as fast and frenetic as the old Tenkaichi games, but it's not the Mortal Kombat ripoff that the older ones were.
Right.
And the combat is okay. The controls are weirdly set up and you can't change them. I don't like that.
Yeah, that's never good.
But okay, so set all that aside, because that part's fine. And if it were just that, I would probably be playing it more and be playing. And I like that it's the actual story of Dragon Ball Z and not something weird. Kind of like Dragon Ball FighterZ is its own unique story.
Okay.
Even though that's a much better game.
Interesting. Okay.
I'm still early.
Yeah, you're still.
But you get dropped in at the beginning of the story of Dragon Ball Z. You're playing as Goku. You play as other people, but you start as Goku. And you start walking around, and you're seeing this world that is just filled with like Z orbs.
Okay.
That are like different colors. I still don't know what they do.
How many hours do you have in it?
Maybe like 6 to 8. Like,
oh wow. Okay. So
I got like a good
deep.
taste of it.
Yeah.
I beat this Saiyan arc. I'm on Namek now,
okay.
For anyone who knows what that means. But like, sometimes it just frees you. Like, okay, you can fly around and you can either go to the next story mission or you can fly around. And there are little side missions which I've only barely like dabbled in. But you're flying around, and like I said, there's just these orbs that are just in midair that you can just fly through and collect.
Huh.
And it makes it seem like you're really supposed to do that, even though I beat these. It has a lot of RPG mechanics. I can tell it has these weird menus that have like characters you can tie yourself to get certain benefits.
Yeah,
you can collect these Z orbs to get, I guess, to buy stuff or like. I don't know. I haven't used any of it, and I still was able to beat the Saiyan arc with relative ease. Like, it wasn't that hard.
That's weird.
So I'm like, it's one of those things where it's like, okay, if you're trying to make this an RPG, you're doing a bad job, because I'm not necessarily motivated to figure out how to level up.
Right.
I'm just able to level up by just winning these fights. So it's weird. Like, it is very, very strange.
Yeah, it sounds jarring almost.
And like I said, I don't know. I'll probably just keep dabbling in it. I'm curious. I'm at the point where I can play as Vegeta, which I really like.
Yeah, of course. That's always a plus.
But it's so weird. It's definitely not like, I would much rather go back and replay any of the old games at this point than continue to play this. But both because those are hard to access and because this is definitely more modern and more fluid and smooth. In certain ways. I guess I'll keep tinkering with it.
You sound delighted to have to do that.
So it is not the Dragon Ball Z game I would have made, but it's the Dragon Ball Z game that we have.
Yeah. Well, that's a disappointment, but
it is a little bit. But I wasn't like expecting a ton out of it. It was more like, I need something. I like Dragon Ball Z. Let's give this a shot.
Yeah, scratch the itch kind of thing.
So let's move on to some news.
Okay.
Of which there's a fair amount that has happened.
Okay.
Since we last spoke.
Yes.
And a couple of these are going to be what I'm calling big shotgun blasts of news. The first is going to be what I'm going to call a shotgun blast of Bethesda.
Oh, all right.
Because there's been a lot of Bethesda talk in recent weeks.
Yeah. Oh, just so it's said, because it took a while to set up the podcast infrastructure and stuff, we recorded 2 Saturdays ago now?
Yes.
So there's been a full 2 weeks in between the last podcast and now, even though moving forward, hopefully we can do it every week. Smoother. Yeah, so just in case it seems like we're covering a lot more than last episode, that's why.
And we're not going to try to cover everything that's happened every time.
No.
We're just hitting on some of the things that I think are the biggest.
Yeah.
And this is a lot and relevant to me because I'm a big fan of a lot of Bethesda games as you as well.
As am I, yeah.
So, there have been rumors swirling, a lot of it based on an interview that Phil Spencer gave and some comments that he made about the future exclusivity of a lot of these Bethesda IPs.
Okay.
And I just want to have a little discussion about that. The most, I guess the next one that's going to be coming out, regardless of whatever else they're working on, is Starfield, their newest IP. We still don't really know what it is.
Yeah.
Other than it's...
Have we seen anything other than that logo reveal 2 E3s ago or 3 E3s ago?
A lot of people are speculating that they're going to do a Fallout 4-esque reveal and release within the same contiguous year.
I'm cool with that.
There was a rumor swirling around that it's potentially this year and that they would reveal it or re-reveal it at whatever this year's E3
and what
ends
E3
up being,
becomes, yeah.
which I'm sure we'll talk about in upcoming weeks.
Yes.
What are you thinking about? Is Starfield even... I guess we haven't seen much of it. Are you excited? Are you interested? Are you even going to be... You'd be able to because you have a PC. Do you think I'll even be able to play it because I have a PlayStation 5?
That's a good question. To answer the first part first, I am tentatively excited. I actually think I like Fallout 4 more now than I did when it came out because I think when Fallout 4 dropped, if people remember, it was around the same time as Witcher 3, I believe. And Witcher 3 just kind of took over this is what open world games should be. There are all these new mechanics. A lot of people didn't like the Fallout 4 base building, kind of scenario. And
wasn't my favorite aspect of it.
I didn't hate it, but it was just kind of a non-thing. I didn't really care. But looking back on it, I'm a little more maybe it's a rose-tinted glasses situation, but I'm a little more nostalgic for it now, and I think it's a fine game. I still like 3 in New Vegas better, but that is the last big open world we got from them. Fallout 76 is a whole different thing.
Yeah.
And so my excitement for Starfield is a little bit of Fallout and a little bit of Outer Worlds. And Outer Worlds was kind of disappointing to me.
Really? I just downloaded it again, actually.
Interesting. I think that game... It could totally have just been the case of I wasn't in the mood. I didn't have that itch yet. But it felt... I knew exactly what that game was and played 15, 20 hours of it, and I was like, yeah, okay, I'm good. I don't need any more. So if it is a similar thing, because that has, space travel and stuff, if it's a similar thing to that, then I'll probably buy it, but I'm just really more curious what it actually is.
Me too. If their intent is to do the prompt reveal and release, I hope that is what they do. I think that's what pretty much every developer should kind of follow that formula.
I agree.
Yeah, I'm with you that it's a Bethesda, presumably a Bethesda open world RPG sci-fi style. It's probably going to be no less than good.
Yeah, no, it'll be fine.
And I do think, to sort of hit on the second question I asked, which was, I think this one will come to PlayStation.
I agree. That's what I was going to say.
It's too deep in development.
It would have
There's
been
contractual
developed for
stuff.
PlayStation.
Yes. Yeah. So, but where do you think the line ends up being drawn in the sand? Do you think that there will, in perpetuity, be games that come to PlayStation, or do you think there's a point at which they will cut it all off and say we are just Xbox exclusive going forward?
See, it's such an interesting conversation because I can totally see both sides of this idea, right? You don't buy Bethesda to not have them make you make money. That's, at the end of the day, they're companies. That's the reason they buy Bethesda. Now, there are two lines of thought with this, which are, one is you make more money by bringing players to your platform. They start buying other games on Xbox. You make money from your store and from all the other controllers and hardware and things like that. So you make money from that. And so you want to keep Bethesda exclusive simply to bring them to your platform. Right. The other idea, which there is precedent for Xbox doing this, is you support it on all consoles, i.e. Minecraft.
Yep.
Because they own Mojang, and you just make all the money that company would have made. Now, I think Xbox is smart. I think Phil Spencer's really doing good things over there, because neither of us own a next-gen Xbox, but I think we both are fans of what they do. And I think this...
And just to say, in the wake of all this news, I'm probably closer to owning one than I ever have
Sure,
been.
yeah, exactly. I think they're smart, and I think they know there's a lot of value, and they're already kind of saying this, in just having these games be nailed down. These are going to be Game Pass games, day one at launch, because there is no better value assessment. I mean, I had Game Pass for a few months to play Outer Worlds, because do I spend $60 for one game, or do I get Game Pass for 3 months and then play all these other games? That's how I played a few other games on Xbox as well. So I think... I don't know. I could see both sides of it. I think maybe there might be certain titles they do keep exclusive, and certain that, your Elder Scrolls 6s, your big Fallouts, things like that do go multi-platform. But who knows? I mean, I would not be shocked to see them bring everything exclusive.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at, or at least maybe this is, wishful thinking. That surely, I'm like, oh, the millions and millions of copies that you would sell of Elder Scrolls 6 on the eventual PlayStation 5 release, surely that would net you out, enough money to, recoup whatever you would have lost by keeping it exclusive. But definitely some of these franchises are going to go exclusive. It's hard to pinpoint which ones. If I had to throw out some guesses, something like Doom screams like a really good exclusive Xbox title really to me.
I think there's an argument for anything not Bethesda proper. So your Arcane games, whatever those are going to be, your id games like Doom, I think those are the games that may go into that exclusive tier. Even like the Wolfenstein games, because those have such a lineage on PC anyway, and Xbox is trying to do the Game Pass on PC thing. It just makes sense.
My worry would be that they would do something more like, okay, if they were trying to cover all their bases in terms of their exclusive offerings. Yeah. Obviously, they already have Halo. So maybe their thought process might be, okay, we have a good exclusive shooter. Maybe we need to pivot and have a big exclusive, adventure-y type game. Oh, right. And then Elder Scrolls somehow becomes the game that ends up exclusive and it breaks my heart.
Would that be the most... If you can, I'm going to go into the assumption that anything you can play on Xbox, you can play on PC. That's been their rule forever now. So that already softens the exclusivity of it. But would Elder Scrolls 6 going to Xbox exclusive, would that be the most landmark exclusivifying thing in our lifetime as far as games go? It would be up there, right?
Yeah. I think there's an argument to be made there. And I think what will net out from that is the actual okay, let's watch these console sales in the months after, whenever they end up announcing one of these games that ends up being exclusive, and let's see how that plays out. Because do I have to buy an Xbox if Elder Scrolls 6 is exclusive? I kind of think
probably,
I do.
Yeah.
And I'm not a long-term Elder Scrolls fan. I have only played Skyrim. Yeah. But oh my goodness, did I play Skyrim? Right, hundreds of hours in Skyrim. I love Skyrim. It's one of my favorite games of all time. So this game that I think is going to have the spirit of Skyrim because of the success of that game is going to be just mainly a follow-up to that. I don't know how I can't buy whatever it takes to play it. Yeah. So, and kind of in a similar vein, because I've been playing a lot of games on PS5 right now that are older games that are getting, performance boosts, whatever. Sure. Another little tidbit that we got recently in the vein of Xbox and Bethesda is that a lot of Bethesda's older games are actually getting performance boosts on the new Xbox consoles.
And only on Xbox.
That crushes me. I hate it. I would love to go back and play some of these games with boosted frames, and I think the two that were highlighted were Skyrim and I want to say Fallout 4 were getting FPS boost exclusively on Xbox Series S. I was dang it,
it's a smart move, man,
because I would love to Fallout 4 is a game that I only played that through that game once, which was enough to get the platinum, but I would like to play through it again, and I certainly don't remember a lot of the aspects of that map because there's tons to explore. That would be a really good, time-killing thing.
I would enjoy playing that game again for the platinum because I never got it.
That one trophy is it's a hassle.
The community one?
Yeah, where you get everyone to X% happiness, or maybe it's 100% happiness. And it was weird, it was very frustrating, but I remember getting that one and being very excited. Let's move on from Bethesda because I don't want to think about Elder Scrolls not being on PS5 anymore. Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about Square Enix.
Okay.
Another big developer. There was a Square Enix Presents.
Yes.
Earlier, I guess it was technically last week now. Where there was some interesting stuff. I'm not a huge Square Enix as a developer fan in general.
Yeah.
But there was some interesting things to pull from here. One for me is maybe gonna, pull me back into a game that I'm still not entirely sold on, but that I own, is the Avengers game is getting a Black Panther expansion.
Oh, cool.
The War for Wakanda is what it's going to be called. I'm interested in this. They just released the Hawkeye. It's not an expansion, but it's sort of just like an update with some new missions and a new story.
Yeah.
With both Kate Bishop and Clint Barton. Which I'm like, okay, I just re-downloaded it on PS5. I got my free PS5 upgrade.
Nice.
So I'm going to maybe play through it again, get some trophies, blah, 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 and then see what these new heroes have to offer in terms of, are they fun to play as? Because there's a lot of fun to be had in Avengers. I'll maintain that. But
yeah,
the missions are super repetitive, and some of the characters are way more fun to play as than others. I really enjoy Iron Man and Thor because the flying mechanics are surprisingly fun.
Oh, interesting.
In Avengers. Do you have any, you haven't played Avengers, you haven't bought it?
No, I could see myself grabbing that game for like a $20 or something, but until it drops to that point, no, I don't really have a major itch to play it.
Yeah. And this is also, they were talking with, I think they said summer 2021 is when this expansion is slated for release.
Okay.
The Black Panther expansion. And they've also said that the Spider-Man playable character, which was promised as a PS or PlayStation exclusive, is at least coming not before the Black Panther expansion. So I'm kind of like, where's Spider-Man? Because Spider-Man's my favorite superhero. You certainly know.
Yeah.
And everyone knows that. I love Spider-Man to the ends of the earth more than any other superhero. So this was a big selling point for me, was the eventual getting to play as Spider-Man in this pretty fun game.
Yeah.
So I'm still kind of like, okay, when's this coming?
Just biding your time.
But I don't know if I'll pay money for an expansion. We'll see if the elements of it can get its hooks in me. Maybe I'll enjoy replaying the missions more on PS5 with faster load times and better graphics more than I did on PS4, but that remains to be seen. There was also a new Life is Strange announced.
Which is the thing that piqued my interest the most.
Yeah, because these are games I have not played.
Okay,
so what do you think of this?
I have played Life is Strange 1 and Before the Storm. I own Life is Strange 2, played the first episode, was going to play them as they came out, then decided about halfway through I'll play them all once they're out, and then have just never gone back and played them. I really enjoy these games. I get the criticisms of them. They do have... I think they're enjoyable in the same way that people enjoy, like, sort of your One Tree Hill type stuff, which is like, it's kind of cheesy, kind of shitty teen dialogue, but with fun, emotional characters and just really interesting decisions. I think Life is Strange 1 is still the best of those games. Like I said, I haven't played 2 yet, but I think it was better than Before the Storm. It has a popcornness to it. But I really enjoy those games, so I'm optimistic for Life is Strange 3.
Yeah, and they're also remastering the older ones.
Oh, interesting.
That was a part of this announcement, which, let me ask you, because my understanding of the Life is Strange games is that they are, for all intents and purposes, what we would call Telltale games.
Yes. Yeah.
So that's what they are?
Yes, they are very similar.
Okay. Would you recommend them for someone who is a cursory fan of those kinds of games? Like me?
For you specifically, maybe.
Yeah.
It may be too... Those games are a little bit more artsy-fartsy than Telltale games are. And I went to art school, so that's up my alley. But
I went to business school. I only care about money.
But no, I'm just saying that because I know that's not everybody's cup of tea.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
They don't have the same... There are funny moments, but they don't have the same like tongue-in-cheek humor of like your Borderlands from Telltale specifically.
Which that's my favorite Telltale game by far.
But if you want a pretty interesting story, it takes turns that I definitely didn't expect.
Yeah.
And if you're just in that mood for that kind of game, then yeah, it's.
It seems like one that might pop up on PlayStation Plus somewhere down the line, so I might hold off and see that.
I would not be shocked if Season 1 becomes a Plus game.
A couple other games that were talked about at the Square Enix Presents. Are you at all familiar with... I don't even know how the first word... Balan Wonderworld?
No.
Have you seen anything about this?
No.
So this is a Sega game.
Okay.
And it's a sort of like modern reimagining of like a classic like Sega platformer.
Okay.
But the demo has been out since January on like all platforms.
Okay.
I've seen some talk about the demo. Apparently it is awful. Like truly bad. Apparently almost every button is jump. Like
what?
Every like, you know,
face button?
X, Y, square, circle, whatever, all of those buttons are jump. The trigger is jump.
What?
So like all you're doing is like navigating this world. There are like coins to collect, but like all you can do is like walk and jump.
Huh.
And they're like apparently these. I guess there are enemies.
Okay.
And it's apparently there's like a Kirby take on it, where like, oh, you can beat this enemy and sort of take their power.
Right.
But apparently all the powers do is modify your jump.
Of course.
And it's gonna be it's $60. Like it's a full like legit game, which is hilarious to me.
Yeah, that's awesome.
We should look at the demo or look at the trailer or something sometime soon. Where it's very, I'd be curious to get your take, but certainly that's a no from me, dog.
It's probably a no from me as well. But nice attribution.
The last game I wanted to talk about from Square Enix Presents is Project Athia, which is now known as Forspoken. Okay. They gave it the formal title. Did you see anything from this?
No, but this has been shown before.
There was a cinematic trailer before. There was no gameplay. We got our first is a very brief vertical slice of gameplay. Okay. And obviously the full title now is Forspoken. This is the game that's written by Gary Whitta.
Oh.
And it looks interesting. Basically, there's a brief cinematic trailer where the protagonist, who's a young woman, basically turns around and sees a giant dragon. She gets scared, cuts away, gives you the title, and then there's the brief gameplay slice, which is like very traversal oriented. Basically, all you're seeing is her like move around the world. It seems to be an open world action, maybe RPG kind of game. Okay. And the fluidity of the movement, it looks a lot like the. You remember the original, like one of the demos of PS5 where there was this like woman in like the ruins who like flies down. Yes. It reminded me of that a lot. Okay. So I don't know if there was intriguing. Yeah, so it's that kind of movement, super fast, super fluid. Yeah. I was like, okay, you've at least piqued my interest. So color me interested.
Yeah, I mean, Gary Whitta has written some cool stuff. Like Book of Eli is awesome. So yeah, I think it can be interesting.
So to move on, one of our second to last news story, and you specifically asked to bring this up because I originally was going to bring it up and then passed on it. You're like, no, let's do it. Is Sony has purchased EVO, the competitive fighting league.
Yeah, so this is
video games, not like UFC.
Yeah, this is interesting. It's an esports tournament that is, and I admittedly don't know a ton about esports, but I've heard of EVO. That's where at one point most of like your major fighting game like championships were happening. Right. So Street Fighter, Smash, Mortal Kombat, I think all of them have had representation at some point at EVO. I'm not super up to date on what the catalog is, but this is just a really interesting move to me because I don't really see what Sony gains from this.
I was kind of thinking the same thing.
They don't have a major fighting game to promote. I mean, I know they have ties with like Street Fighter.
That's like in the works.
Maybe, yeah, and we might get to that. But like I'm just really confused why they did it. I know that Sony has shown interest in buying other gaming things that aren't necessarily PlayStation, i.e. their Epic Games sort of purchase. And I know this is probably a good thing for EVO because what little I do know about EVO is that before this purchase, there were rampant accusations of both like sexual assault and sexual harassment.
The culture around it was not great.
So in this case, this sort of corporate takeover could be advantageous to like hit the reset button, right? So that's good for fans of EVO. I just think it's an interesting thing to bring up because it's not Sony buying a studio. They're buying basically just a name and a tournament.
And they're kind of just becoming like the corporate sponsor of EVO.
Right, exactly, yeah. So I'll be curious to see what they bring to this. I think the only, to my knowledge, I could be way off on this, but the only time that I have knowledge of this is with like Rocket League Championship Series, which Psyonix does have a hand in, and then Overwatch League, which is its own, completely own thing. And I'll be curious to see if Sony either partners with some fighting game. I know they've had Street Fighter stuff in the past, or if they bring a new fighting game out, or where this goes. I know that Nintendo specifically put out some statement that was like, we are happy for Sony buying the thing, whatever, we'll continue to monitor whether Smash is right for EVO.
Right.
And Nintendo, if you know the fighting game community, is really bad about supporting Smash in fighting game like esports, specifically Melee. The Melee community has asked Nintendo to do so much, and they never do anything because they're like, buy the new Smash game. They don't want people playing this old Smash game.
I get.
I understand, but other companies have taken the approach of like, if you're just playing our game, that's good for us. People watching Melee on Twitch will make them want to go buy the new Smash, right? So we'll see if Nintendo pulls out of EVO now. I kind of doubt it, but yeah, it'll be interesting to monitor.
Yeah, certainly not a lot of skin in the game for really either of us on this, but
sure,
a curious thing to see how it plays out, because really every time either Microsoft or Sony makes one of these big acquisitions, it's interesting to just ponder how it's going to play into that landscape of
what's the strategy?
What are they doing here? So yeah, maybe if they buy some studio, launch as like the premier fighting game at EVO, we'll see where it goes.
Yeah.
Our last news story, which you were unaware of this, I was unaware of this. There is a video game Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I didn't know this.
And just earlier last week, they announced the nominees.
Okay.
Let's see here. I'm going to pull up this article here. This is from Rochester First.
Oh.
Is which like I presume to be the Rochester newspaper.
Yeah, cool.
Which I'm like, I don't know why you guys are the ones covering this, but...
Is it in Rochester?
It is. Or, well, I don't know if the Hall of Fame itself is. So here are the 12 finalists for induction. I'm not sure how many of these will actually get in.
Okay.
But these are the nominees. And these are just, I guess, franchises.
Oh, okay. So it's not people.
No, it's the games themselves.
Interesting, okay.
Animal Crossing.
Huh.
Call of Duty. Farmville.
Whoa.
FIFA.
Okay.
Guitar Hero. Mattel Football.
This is weird.
Microsoft Flight Simulator.
Yeah.
Pole Position. Portal. StarCraft. Tron. And Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego?
Nice. Tron the movie?
No, I guess
Tron the game. Or is there a Tron game?
I thought the movie was based on a game.
Well, the movie is about video games.
Yes, you're right.
But I don't know if there was I'm sure there were Tron video games.
Yes, this is definitely, they're showing the cover here. This is definitely a Tron video game. You can see like the arcade stick.
Huh, okay. It must have been like an early thing. All right.
And it says, like every year, the games are judged based on 4 categories.
Okay.
Icon status.
All right.
The game is widely recognized and remembered.
Sure.
Longevity. The game is more than a passing fad and has enjoyed popularity over time.
That's an interesting qualifier.
It is. Geographical reach. The game meets the above criteria across international boundaries.
Okay.
And influence. The game has exerted significant influence on the design and development of other games or on other forms of entertainment, popular culture, society in general. Which is, pretty interesting. It goes through a rundown here of all of the different ones, but we're at least mostly familiar with at least the big names on this list.
Yeah.
But I'm going to pull up here the actual World Video Game Hall of Fame, because it's not big. It's a relatively new thing.
Okay.
And we're just going to look at some of these games.
All right.
I just find this interesting.
We're going to talk about which of the nominees we think should get in, right?
Sure.
Okay.
And I don't know. Let's see. Okay, we'll base it on how many inductees there were each year.
Okay.
Because it seems like they're pretty consistent. So it started in 2015. In the 2015, there were 6 inductees.
Okay.
This is interesting because this was the first class. You would think these are heavy hitters, and they are.
Yeah.
Doom.
Okay.
Pac-Man.
Yeah, Pac-Man had to be there.
Pong.
All right, that makes sense.
Super Mario Brothers.
Yeah.
Tetris, and World of Warcraft.
Oh, interesting.
It's a pretty stout list.
Yeah, that's hard to fault.
2016, there were also 6 inductees. Now, here's where I think things get interesting.
Okay.
In those 2015 inductees, those are all franchises. There are multiple games.
Sure.
This one, there's at least one game on here that is not a franchise. It's a single game, even though it's part of a franchise. And it's the first one, which is Grand Theft Auto 3.
Huh.
Which I think is interesting. Why not just induct
Grand Theft
the entirety
Auto?
of Grand Theft Auto?
Yeah, that is interesting.
Even though, and that is the game that like pioneered the open world Grand Theft Auto.
Sure, and I
that
guess
we now
that's
know.
it. Like you tell I know that with a lot of Hall of Fame discussions, especially in sports, which is where we're most familiar with them, and probably where they're most prevalent, a lot of times I've heard the thing of like, can you tell the story of the sport without this game or without this person? And so I wonder if that's the approach of like, you can't tell the story of how many Grand Theft Auto games there were and open world games of that style without Grand Theft Auto 3 specifically.
I like that criteria. To move on, more 2016 inductees: Sonic the Hedgehog.
Okay, makes sense.
Space Invaders, The Legend of Zelda, Oregon Trail,
nice,
and The Sims.
Oh,
okay,
yeah,
pretty good class. In 2017, there were only 4 inductees.
Oh, it got a little more strict.
Donkey Kong.
Yeah,
this is a franchise, I guess. Halo Combat Evolved.
Oh, so
Halo
the first one,
which arguments to be made there one way or the other.
Xbox becomes a thing.
This has Pokemon Red and Green, which most people in America would be like Pokemon Red and Blue.
Yeah.
But there was technically Red and Green first.
Yeah.
And then Street Fighter 2.
Oh, weird. I wonder why.
Yeah. It's sort of getting more specific over time.
Yeah.
And it seems like they've cut down to only 4 inductees per year, because in 2018 and 2019 and 2020, there were 4 each year.
Okay.
2018, Final Fantasy VII specifically.
Makes sense.
John Madden Football.
Nice.
So the entirety of the Madden franchise, pretty much. Space War.
What is that?
I don't know.
Interesting.
It's Space War exclamation point, to be specific.
That has to be an Atari game.
Tomb Raider. I guess Tomb Raider was the last one in 2018. 2019. We got some more interesting ones here. Colossal Cave Adventure.
Oh, it's a game from 1962.
Oh, okay. So it's
just like a pioneer of games in general. Okay.
Gotcha. Colossal Cave Adventure. I don't know what that is.
Oh, I don't either.
We'll look this up too.
Back to the Google.
Yeah. Colossal Cave. I'm gonna guess it's a precursor to The Legend of Zelda, like a dungeon crawler.
No, this is a text adventure.
Okay, never mind.
Yeah, also known as Advent, Colossal Cave, or Adventure. I've actually heard of Just Adventure. I think that was an Atari port, maybe.
I've always been curious about like just text adventure games.
Yo, shout out to Zork.
Yeah,
which I actually played as a kid. I liked Zork. Anyway.
All right. Also in 2019, Microsoft Solitaire.
Oh, nice.
That's a great.
That's a good include. Yeah.
In terms of prolificness, like probably more people have played that than most video games.
Yeah, a lot of people's introductory point to games.
Mm-hmm. Mortal Kombat.
Makes sense.
And Super Mario Kart. So Mario Kart.
Oh, yeah.
2020, Bejeweled.
Hey, PopCap getting love.
Centipede.
Okay.
King's Quest.
All right.
And Minecraft.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. So can you read the nominees again quickly for this year?
Let me go back to it here.
So we can only get 4.
Yeah, so it's 4 seems criteria. To be the template here. So, Animal Crossing, Call of Duty, Farmville, FIFA, Guitar Hero, Mattel Football, Flight Simulator, Pole Position, Portal, StarCraft, Tron, and Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego?
Okay. I'm going to eliminate some right now.
Sure.
Farmville's gone.
That's fine.
Specifically the criteria of it's more than just a fad. That was literally a fad.
Yeah, it was.
Nobody's playing Farmville anymore.
At least not that I know of.
Yeah. Mattel Football, don't know what that is.
Me neither. And it would always be overshadowed by Madden.
By Madden, right. Animal Crossing, I don't think you can make the argument for it.
Not yet.
I think, granted, I know a lot of people who absolutely love that franchise. I'm not saying... This isn't saying that Animal Crossing shouldn't be there one day, but among the other heavy hitters we've seen, it just seems like that was like the next Nintendo property in line. And I don't know that Animal Crossing is absolutely key. Maybe it is with the Switch and with the pandemic and stuff. That might actually be the best case for it. But I don't know that you need Animal Crossing to tell the wider story of video games.
Sure.
So what are we left with?
So you eliminated... Let's see. You eliminated Farmville. So we've eliminated Animal Crossing as well.
Yes, in my opinion.
I agree with that. And eliminated Mattel Football. So we're left with Call of Duty, FIFA, Guitar Hero.
Get rid of FIFA.
See, I was going to say put FIFA in there.
See, here's my... Okay, hold on.
Because of just how prolific FIFA is worldwide.
Yeah, that's a good point. I don't know... I guess my idea for this was FIFA will have always existed. someone was always going to make a soccer game. I don't know that FIFA specifically, and you could say this for Madden too, although it's the best of the football games. I don't know that FIFA specifically is hallmark other than it is just the option. We could keep it for now and then come back to it. But.
Sure. I understand where you're coming. There was always going to be a soccer game.
Yes.
However, do you apply that same logic to Call of Duty and say there was always going to be a military shooter?
Not in the same way, because Call of Duty has staved off other competitors at a rate that's
Call of Duty is also just the commercial success of Call of Duty is pretty ridiculous.
And I know FIFA sells incredibly well. I'm not saying that either.
But it's like every month, just about, you look at the top selling games on just about any platform, and Call of Duty is almost always in the top 3.
Yeah, there's a reason they make them every year.
So I think Call of Duty is a slam dunk.
I agree.
You induct Call of Duty. So let's say we got that one for sure.
Yes.
To my dismay, I think you can eliminate Guitar Hero.
I don't know that you can.
Oh, really? Okay.
Because if we're looking at some of the other things that were mentioned, they are almost zeitgeists, right? Not that they were fads necessarily, but when you think of Donkey Kong, yes, that franchise carries on to today, but you think of like early arcade or maybe the NES, right? And Guitar Hero was such a moment. Way more than this doesn't apply to Farmville. Farmville was just like if you were there, you remember it. I doubt people.
It's more like if you were on Facebook.
Yeah, exactly. I doubt people who are like younger, quite a bit younger than us, even know what Farmville is. Like
I hope not.
It has not had, and I think they might know what Guitar Hero is. And I just think Guitar Hero was such a craze for such a long period of time that I think it has an argument for sure.
I think it has an argument.
Yeah.
I'll say that. Let's see. Microsoft Flight Simulator.
I kind of think it's a lock.
You think?
Yeah, Flight Simulator is not something I ever played, but if you talk to people of a certain generation, of a certain age, sort of, I guess, like mid-30s, early 40s now, almost everyone brings up, who are into PCs at all, almost everyone brings up Flight Simulator.
Yeah.
Because it was like of course, it's a hybrid between games and like a sim, but it was the height of PC gaming for a bit.
Yeah.
Whereas like this is if your game can run Flight Simulator, people bought flight sticks and people lost so much time in Flight Simulator. So I think it's at least worth mentioning.
I think I'm kind of agreeing with you, and I think what I'm sort of settling on is that if you're the like archetypal game of like a genre that you sort of pioneered, then you probably deserve to be in.
Yeah.
And so Microsoft Flight Simulator is certainly like the most prolific flight simulator game out there.
Yeah.
In a genre that like there was always going to be people who were like, I want a video game where I can just fly a plane. Just because I'll probably never fly a plane in real life.
Right, but I would like to try.
So that becomes their outlet for that. So we can definitely keep that on the considerations.
Okay.
What is Pole Position?
Pole Position was an Atari racing game,
That's
I believe.
kind of what I assumed, was just a super old racing game.
I think it was Atari. Let me look. Yeah, it's just like one of the first racing games. I think you can kind of get rid of it personally, but it's pretty legendary. It was an arcade game first, but yeah, it was just a racing game. Okay. I don't think it does anything special.
Me neither.
And it's not a brand that's lasted a long time like a Mario Kart, so I don't know. For me, it's not. We might be too young, but
what about Portal?
Portal's a really interesting one to me because I think it influenced, one of the categories was how influential is it, and it influenced such a new generation of puzzle games. Yeah. With things like The Witness or the Turing Test game or there's that other Talos Principle. There's a lot of
your beloved Stanley Parable.
Yeah. No, it definitely influences Stanley Parable from a different aspect. Yeah. And things like Superliminal, and there's still games that are so inspired by Portal. And it kind of reinvented what puzzle games could be, and at least to me, because I used to think of puzzle games as like you're solving a puzzle. There's a mat in front of you, and there's pieces to move around or whatever, or it's like a PopCap game, and you're doing more like Bejeweled or Zuma or Peggle, things like that. So I think there's an argument that it's not a strong enough contender with some of these other things. But I also think the redefining the puzzle genre is a huge thing as well.
I'm inclined to say it's at least a good contender because I've never played Portal, either of them. but it's just one of those. It's kind of a meme, and not in a bad way. Like it's just a game that you can reference.
Sure.
And pretty much everyone who plays, that aren't is not like a super casual player of video games is going to understand Portal is its own unique thing. I don't know. It's sort of like a movie that like is a one-time movie that like there's no sequels, there's no nothing. It's a weird little art house movie, but that is so agreed upon to be great that it becomes legendary.
Even though Portal 2 is probably better than Portal 1.
Yeah, but I'm just saying like as Portal 1 and 2
as a
combined.
moment.
Portal wouldn't be at the top of my list for this, but it would definitely. I wouldn't be mad if it gets in.
Nor would I. I'm almost surprised they didn't just do the orange box.
Yeah,
because that was such a thing for Valve, just like, and what Valve ended up becoming. Like,
have you ever played StarCraft?
I have not.
Me neither.
I'm almost. This is one I don't feel any way toward, but I wouldn't be shocked if it does make it.
Yeah, me
it's
too.
just so legendary.
Tron seems like one where like
get rid of it.
Yeah, because I mean the movie is more of a thing than the game.
Yeah, exactly.
But what about where in the world is Carmen Sandiego?
There is a strong argument.
I think so too.
Because if you're gonna tell the story of games, you have to include educational games at some point.
Yeah. Especially
for people like us who, we grew up going like computer lab or whatever, right? I think Oregon Trail is a stronger candidate from that category, but
it's already in.
Yeah, exactly. I think this is probably the next game if you ask me to name another like educational game.
Oregon Trail is more of when I say actual game, I don't mean that in any sort of derisive way, but it's like the point of Oregon Trail is for you to play it and just have fun or enjoy it for what it's trying to do.
Yeah.
This is like you're trying to learn geography.
Right,
like,
exactly.
But it's fun. Like I remember playing these games at like my cousin's house when I was like 6 and just being like, can I play Carmen Sandiego? Just 'cause I thought it was fun.
It's a fun game.
So in terms of that, as a pioneering and enduring like, educational game, also a TV show.
Sure. Also a game show.
Really?
There was a Carmen Sandiego, I think
this
Nickelodeon.
Like rings a bell, but I also kind of don't believe
it's a little bit before our time.
Yeah.
I think it was like a Nickelodeon game show, similar to like Double Dare and
I'm voting for this to
like
get
that.
in.
Yeah, I think I am too. All right, so we got Carmen Sandiego as a lock. Call of Duty is a lock. So we're choosing between now Guitar Hero.
I say FIFA should be considered.
FIFA,
Portal,
StarCraft, Flight Simulator.
Yes,
Flight Simulator's in. I'm telling you, dude.
I'm fine with that. So that's
so our last thing.
FIFA, Guitar Hero, Portal, StarCraft.
I think you get rid of StarCraft.
Okay.
Simply because Warcraft is already in, and I know they're completely different games. Don't come at me if you're a huge RTS person, but I just don't think it's on the same level as some of these other things.
Sure.
Specifically because there's so many people who, I don't know. It's not for me, and that's probably why it's not my type of game.
Don't get mad at us if we don't pick it, because we're not going to be the ones picking it to actually get in.
I would much rather Civilization be in than RTS anyway.
Okay.
Surprised it's not been nominated, or maybe it has been, but surprised it's not in yet. I think you got to get rid of Guitar Hero now, which breaks my heart. And so it's between FIFA and
Portal.
Yeah, I think FIFA's in.
I just think
on the
FIFA,
global scale, like you said.
It's kind of like if you're going to apply Flight Simulator to be the archetypal prolific flying game.
Yeah.
Here you have the archetypal prolific soccer game, the most popular sport in the world, which is regrettable but undeniable.
Our American is showing.
Yeah, that happens. The World Cup can be very fun sometimes.
It can be, yeah.
So
when the U.S. is good. So the Women's World Cup.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so that's our take, but we don't make the calls here.
Nominate Civ next year. Put Guitar Hero in.
We'll ride into maybe if it's in Rochester, we'll go visit, but I'm not even going to bother to look it up.
Let's do an on-location video
that
game
would
Hall
be
of Fame
hilarious.
podcast.
All right, so that was originally going to be the large topic of this episode, but
it's not.
Condensed that down because I have something that I've really wanted to do, and I've roped you into it, and I know you want to do it too.
I'm excited.
This is going to be a really fun topic.
I got to get my phone out.
So,
also, I'm on to beer too, just letting the audience know.
We love E3.
Yeah, we do, man.
We love Gamescom. We love any occasion where there's a big announcement waiting to happen.
Yeah, we do.
And I wanted us to compile a list for each of us where these aren't necessarily announcements that we think are going to happen. Most of them probably won't.
Yeah.
But if they do, we're going to have some sort of yet to be determined celebration.
Yes.
So that right now we're just going to give you not necessarily I'm going to say the games, but the announcement could sort of be anything games related.
Yeah, some of these are not just video game announcements.
Right. So we're each going to give you 10.
Yes.
Which is more than I originally thought. But then
you came in and said 3, and I had a list of 11.
And then I got excited, and I compiled the remainder of my list. So we're going to go back and forth.
Yeah.
And we're just going to give one at a time. Tanner, you can go first.
Oh, thank you, buddy. The first one, which you will have already seen coming. I'm just going to cross it off the list now. Peggle 3. I want it. I need it.
I'll be right there with you if they ever do.
It's one of the most fun trophy lists ever, in my opinion. I have gone to bat for Peggle. One of the only times I've been on front page on Twitch, I played Peggle 2. That's how hard I go to bat for that game. And I've made this case before, but not on this podcast. So that game cannot be hard to make. The engine already exists for PS4. I would imagine it exists for PC. Just upscale it a little bit. Have a few interns at EA make some levels. Put some trophies on it, and I know I'm oversimplifying it. I know it's a harder game to make than that. I'm not disparaging the
by
devs.
Comparison to a lot of other games these days.
At least the framework for it. Like if Peggle 1 had existed and Peggle 2 never came out, then I'd be like, all right, they have to make it for console. It's gonna be a whole thing.
Yeah.
But Peggle 2 exists, so just make more levels for it and make it a
Peggle
new game.
2 and reskin it.
Exactly.
With
I think Peggle should be annualized. I want more Peggle, and I know it's a running joke between us specifically.
Well,
so
we both love it.
Yeah, exactly.
And I also got that platinum.
It's such a good platinum.
Beloved game.
We would both love it to see Peggle 3.
Absolutely. That'd just be so exciting.
It would.
I'm going to go on. So my first one, and this is one, so when I originally was sort of thinking about this list, I didn't get creative in terms of like, oh, what's a new IP or something that could happen that I would get really excited about. I was thinking more like sequels to games that I loved that didn't look like they were ever going to get a sequel.
Yeah.
But then I thought about this.
Okay.
I thought about what are some things that I like, or some fictional, like, properties, IPs that I enjoy that either haven't been made into a video game, or in this case, haven't been made into a good video game.
Oh.
And that's why I landed at this. I want a legit Sherlock Holmes game.
Oh.
Because there have been a couple.
Yeah.
I forget the subtitles, but it's like Sherlock Holmes, like a blah blah blah. Just the books where there's subtitles to represent whatever mystery he's trying to solve. But what I want is to for some if Bend, before they had come out with Days Gone, it's like Bend is making a Sherlock Holmes game. I'd be like, oh, a real studio, not to disparage whatever studio made those games, but it's just those were not great games. They're just, you walk in, you kind of survey the room and do your thing. And I would want it to be more of a sort of take some of the action elements out of an Assassin's Creed, but keep the exploration and keep, the open worldness.
Sure.
I would want something like that. So I would really love a, really mystery solving sort of Batman detective mode.
I was going to say almost Arkham-like.
Yeah, very much so. But I understand that if you put all the action elements in there, it just becomes another open world action, third person, whatever. So I wanted to focus on the mystery solving nature of the game. That's my number 10. Is a really good.
Oh, have you ranked them?
Well, no, that's just kind of.
Oh,
I
interesting.
definitely think my most hype ones are at the top.
Okay, gotcha. I really like that idea. Okay, I'm gonna try to alternate between game ideas and sort of other video game centric ideas.
Okay.
So, one of my ideas that I'm really excited about, I'm gonna save that actually.
Oh, okay.
I want, and this may be a little bit, this one I think is the most realistic. You asked me before, are there any that you probably could see happening? I want PlayStation Now to really try to compete with Game Pass. And I'm going to be specific about this. I want PlayStation Now to bring at least some lapsed exclusives to PC and have a PlayStation Now PC wing, because there are so many friends of mine who I've been asked, is Last of Us ever going to come to PC for a long time now? Yeah. And I keep telling people no, but never say never. And with things like Horizon getting a PC port, all of the the Detroit Become Human and Beyond Two Souls
Sure.
and the Heavy Rain, those all got PC ports. Death Stranding got a PC port. They're definitely dipping their toe into the market a little bit with PC stuff. So I would not be surprised to see this. I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think PlayStation has the same idea with that Xbox does with the PC integration. I would also like to see Sony make a bigger push for putting more games on PlayStation Now. Because I think, as someone who's not on Xbox, Game Pass is the best deal in gaming. Yeah. Legitimately, it's awesome.
It is.
And PlayStation Now is good. I have it. It's cheap enough that it's still worth having just to download stuff off of there from every now and then. But I would really love to see them not only put it more in focus in their UI of just like, hey, PlayStation Now is a thing, almost like a soft relaunch of like, we have every exclusive that's older than a year old right here for you to play. And I just think that would be one way to combat this whole Bethesda Game Pass thing for Sony. Sure. I know we're both Sony centric, but that would be a really cool thing for them to do.
Yeah, I agree with you. The continuing value proposition war between Game Pass and PlayStation Now will be very interesting to watch.
Yes.
All right, my next one is I want to take the route of I want a franchise that exists to become like another franchise.
Okay.
And what I'm going to call this, game that I think would be really cool is Splinter Cell contracts.
Okay.
And take
you want Hitman.
I want Hitman style of like you have these levels, but I don't want Hitman gameplay. I want Splinter Cell gameplay.
Interesting. Okay.
But like these across like multiple, big, or not necessarily open, but you go to a level and you play it and you try to do it as best you can.
Yeah.
That's what I want from Splinter Cell. The only Splinter Cell game that I've ever played is Splinter Cell Blacklist.
Yes.
And it is maybe the best stealth action game.
It's a good game, dude. I know Splinter Cell diehards are like, oh, that game's not that great, but I associate that game with a very fun time playing with Andrew, and yeah, it was my first introduction to like stealth shooters at all.
Yeah. And
it's so different gameplay wise from your normal shooter that I think it could still stand out. I think there's a reason people still want a Splinter Cell announcement every year.
I am that person.
There's a reason I put new Splinter Cell in my list.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I totally agree.
Yeah. So like,
and I love the Hitman idea too.
It's so lots of games have stealth incorporated into their gameplay in some way.
Sure.
But it's just one of the few games where it is such the focus. But you still have, and you have your different play styles. You have Ghost, which is you go completely stealthy and don't kill anyone. You have Panther, which is you go completely stealthy but you can kill people. And I forget what the loud one is, but you can just shoot people willy-nilly. Yeah. No one should play it that way.
Somewhat Hitman.
Yeah, so that would be an incredibly hype thing, and a really good way, because I really love the Hitman sort of, just the menus. You feel like you are Agent 47, like sitting at a computer and actually finding your next contract.
Nice.
You get that kind of vibe. And I think that would really go well for like, oh, you're Sam Fisher and you're like, oh, here's your task, here's your briefing, go do this mission. I think that would be a really cool setup.
No, I completely agree. This might be a lot of, no, that sounds cool from both of us, but I like how you pitched this idea to me, which was we set this groundwork early so that if this ever happens, we kind of get to celebrate in a way that we wouldn't have otherwise. And I think Ubisoft is so weird with Splinter Cell because they seem to put him in every game but don't give him his own.
Yeah, there's a weird reverence for Sam Fisher just as like an icon of Ubisoft, and yet
he doesn't get a game.
I think that came out in 2013, I believe.
Yes, it was one of the last PS3 games.
Yeah, so 8 years and no whisper of a new one.
It's a shame. All right, my second one is similar or something I was thinking about earlier. It was the one that because we're both sitting on the couch watching March Madness and kind of just like mumbling to ourselves about our topics. And this was the last one I came up with, simply because I was thinking about the EVO thing. Sony bought EVO. Sony has made a fighting game before. Give us PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale 2.
Okay.
It's time. They have enough.
It's not time.
Yes, it is, dude. They have
well, I guess it's time, and if there's no better time than when right after you buy a fighting
game.
league.
Yeah.
But
they have enough new, interesting mascots with a lot of their stuff from the PS4 era. I mean, think about it. Any character that came out on PS4 or PS5 early on is still applicable to be a new character for this. And yes, I know everybody's in Smash and everybody's in Fortnite or whatever, but I think PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale was a legitimately fun game. I will die on this hill. I know it wasn't Smash and it wasn't as good as Smash. That's fine. But it was, if you understood the way that game worked differently, then it really became a fun fighting game. And I think that they are a big enough company with enough IP. I would love to see new taking on like Crash Bandicoot.
Yeah.
Like, I want to see it. And they can get Crash now. That was a big thing about the first one. They could never get Crash or whatever.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because Activision wouldn't work with them at the time. And so there's all this nostalgia push still. I think we're sort of hitting the other side of the wave of nostalgia a little bit, at least for me personally. But you pull some of the older mascots, you get some of the new guys, and I think it would sell at least decently well, especially if you push it in the fighting game community with EVO.
Question.
Yeah.
Do you think that they would have to go maybe like... So Smash is, for all intents and purposes, kid-friendly, you know? But I think Sony's mascots, if you're trying to make a pretty expansive roster, you would have to incorporate characters from games that aren't necessarily kid-friendly.
Sure.
So do you maybe make it like I don't want to say grittier, but like a rated T instead of like a rated E, where like you can have maybe Ellie and like her special move is to jump up and like stab you in the neck. So
Mortal Kombat, basically.
More so.
Instead of Smash, make it more Mortal Kombat.
Or bridge the gap between the two.
Sure. I would be fine with that. I think that would be interesting from this flip standpoint, though, of do you see Ellie stab Crash Bandicoot in the neck?
Yeah, you do. That's the selling point of that whole game. Imagine that trailer where like the reveal trailer is like Crash walks out and everybody's like, oh, Crash,
new Crash game
6 or whatever that's about to come out.
And then you just hear the whistle from
arrow to the oh goodness.
Or just the clicker. You just hear and Crash is like
imagine a clicker as a playable character.
Oh my god.
That would be kind of sick. Like
yeah, that'd be super interesting. Nice. Be Corda sick. No. Okay. You're giving that one a thumbs down, I assume.
I've kind of sold myself on it now.
With the grittier reboot.
Yeah. Just because I do, like, if you're going to have Drake in there, you want Drake to be able to shoot people with an AK. You want Kratos.
Which he did in the first one.
Yeah.
He shot people.
You want Kratos to be able to beat, people to an inch of their life.
Yeah, exactly.
And, like, throw Ratchet, like, as far as he could possibly throw that little Lombax.
Nice use of the word Lombax.
Anyway. You settled on that one?
Yeah.
Okay. My next one. We talked about this, or I guess, and I alluded to it, and then it occurred to me. I was like, I should really put this on the list.
Okay.
And I just said lightsaber VR. And I don't know if I want a pure, like, Star Wars, like, actual, like, retelling of, like, one of the movie stories or something like that. But I just want a legitimate, really well-made, really responsive lightsaber VR game. I guess I do probably want it to be like, you maybe like you pick like your Jedi versus Sith and you build your lightsaber. Like I want all that stuff because I think building your lightsaber is one of the coolest things in like Star Wars mythos, where like, oh, you find your little kyber crystal and you make your hilt in whatever color you want it to be.
Fallen Order handled that really well.
Really well. And every color represents like a different thing.
Yeah.
It's not like a super, complex idea. And it's one that's semi-inevitable, but I just... on the quality that I want it to be, I don't see it being anytime soon. So that's kind of where I'm at with that one.
Yeah, I mean, this bridges from the discussion we had last week, right? Where what's the game that could sell you on VR? And I feel like this is about as selling point as you could get me personally.
A tease. My next one is I'm going back to back with VR, but we'll get to that.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Yeah, I fully support this idea. Would you, with this game, ideally, would you want it to be more just sort of combat room into combat room with like a story in between, almost like an Injustice, but not as a fighting game, but just like, cutscene, action part, or would you rather it be more sort of integrated into you play more of the narrative?
I'd say the first iteration of the game would probably be more like combat room to combat room, but I also don't want it to be exclusively like, honestly, you have like your lightsaber fights, like lightsaber duels where you fight someone else with a lightsaber that is super fun.
Yeah.
But part of more of what would be fun was like you walk into a room full of like worthless droids and you can just slice and dice them in whatever way that is fun to you.
Yeah.
And that's appealing too. So I would want a mixture of, cool, really well-matched lightsaber duels and just opportunities to just absolutely carve them up. Just because that's fun.
Yeah. Okay. I can get behind it for sure. My next idea, it's an interesting one.
Okay.
I've never heard anybody pitch this before. So this might be breaking ground. I'm not sure. I was thinking, or just might be really stupid. I was thinking a lot because when you gave me the heads up of announcements that you would pop for, basically.
Yeah.
And something I care a lot about is trophies. Now, a lot of games. I like
where this is going.
A lot of games. Part of the fun of the game itself is getting the platinum, right? Is completing the game, but then. Once you get the platinum, it's like, all right, see you, game.
Yep.
I have no reason to play you again.
I'm guilty of this.
And even with games like Rocket League that we both love and still play, I play it more on PC now because even though I can get random expansion trophies or whatever, not knowing them, there's no platinum to get. So I'm pitching the idea of a trophy prestige.
Okay.
Where you still get credit for the platinum, but you can reset trophies on certain games and get all of the trophies again.
When you say on certain games,
or on any game, it's not a qualifier. Sorry, but you can. So like Rocket League, right? We both have that platinum. Yeah. We've had it for a long time. You don't reset your game progress,
right?
But you do reset your trophy list, and you can just get the Rocket League trophies.
Basically,
again.
just duplicate the trophy list and do it again.
Exactly. I think that could add so much replayability to games, especially games that you have the hankering to want to go back and play. I don't know how this would work from their standpoint and servers and stuff. I have no idea, but I just think the idea of a game you really love and you want to go back, but there's no platinum to go back and get or whatever, this might just give you a little bit more of a push to go back and actually play through it again.
I have mixed feelings about this proposal.
Okay.
I like where your head's at, and as soon as you started talking, I was like, I was kind of led there. I was like, is he gonna, or it was whatever he's gonna propose in my head. I was like, this is gonna be like a prestige thing.
Yeah.
Which I like in concept. However, I kind of like, when you have if I had like a physical representation of my actual trophies that I have, like if I had a trophy room, in my real life. I would like just being able to say, okay, I platinumed this game, therefore I am there is no way that you can prove that you are a greater expert at this game than me because we both have the platinum, the one platinum. If there were a prestige system, it would be more like there's always going to be someone who's more of like the person for this game than you. You know what I mean?
Sure. I don't think it would be representative, unlike prestige from like Call of Duty, which is both of our base point for it, I think. It wouldn't be necessarily like you have platinum 4, right? It would just be you either have or don't have the platinum. And just you're resetting it would sort of bank your platinum, but you could get a new platinum, but you only ever have either it's a checkbox. You either do or don't have the platinum. It's like
it's not like you're getting a trophy that someone else doesn't have.
Right.
You're just getting the same trophy again.
And breaking news, there are people so much better than us at every game. Right? So
pretty much.
I don't know. I think it's an interesting idea. It'll never happen.
That's a fair point because my thing is like I want to be the person who has that one super rare trophy so I can say I have this. Yeah. I am an authority on this game. Yeah. It's why I like to platinum from software games sometimes. That's why I had the Bloodborne Platinum. So I can say, I know this game inside and out.
Right, front to back.
Here's my proof.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess if at that point it'd just be more like, okay, you're just a diehard for this game. You just want to play it again, do all the same stuff. Okay, that makes it more palatable.
Okay,
I'm down with that.
I'll take the half approval.
All right, my next one. So back to VR. I said,
yes,
this will never happen. But oh my gosh, I would be so excited.
Okay.
Picture like I don't know who would develop this, but I can already tell you they would be Japanese because lights go down in whatever thing, whatever happening. Presentation. I don't know if you do or not.
Oh,
it comes up.
I'm not looking at your phone.
Okay, I thought you were trying to cheat.
No, why would I do that? Why would I spoil myself?
You sort of look up. You can tell they're demoing like a VR thing.
Okay,
and there is like an arena before you, and you hear probably
It's time.
Yeah, that's exactly what you hear. You whip out your dual disc.
I knew that's where it was going.
And you have a VR, like, it's just like the first episode, if you've ever seen the first episode of Yu-Gi-Oh! The anime.
Yeah, which I have.
And it's that Kaiba, setup where it's like, and Yuki's like, holographic representations of monsters? That's literally just what I want. I don't need there to be a huge story. Just get me a way where I can, like, have Yu-Gi-Oh! Cards and duel against a random person, but I have, again, we're talking about platinums a lot.
Yeah.
I have the platinum for Yu-Gi-Oh! Legacy of the Duelists. I think it's called Link Evolution is the subtitle.
Okay.
One of my hardest but most prideful platinums, I guess.
Yeah.
But it's just like 2D, like just the map, or not like the slots of where cards go. Like that's all you see. There's no like depth to like the animations or like anything cool. I want like the full on like.
You want it to feel like the anime.
You lay a card down, you see the hologram pop up. They have like an animation for when they do their attack, which there's so many monsters that they would never have time to do enough unique animations.
Games have done that though. Like there's that War of the Roses or whatever. It had like there were preset animations for different attacks, but they at least tried it. I think if you got a studio dedicated enough.
Yeah.
And honestly, that may be the best pitch for VR I've ever heard.
Oh, it would be so cool. But any game like that, I mean, Pokemon would be great. You Pokeball, you throw it and whatever.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
All of these, something like that has to be inevitable because Pokemon still has so much like cultural relevance. And
sure,
I mean, Pokemon Go was AR.
Right, close enough.
Semi-translatable, I would have to think, to VR.
Yeah.
And I have to rally the troops of Yu-Gi-Oh fans out there.
We have to get this Yu-Gi-Oh VR game.
Probably will never happen, but Lord, if it does, you will see me comatose for about a week after the announcement happens.
I like the idea, man.
I just love that you knew where I was going.
Yeah, dude.
I was like, oh, he thinks I'm going to talk about like Dragon Ball Z and
no,
doing like a Kamehameha in VR.
For some reason, Dragon Ball in VR didn't make sense to me, so I just thought, what would be cool?
Exactly.
is to have
That's
your
pretty much
field
my
in front
entire
of you.
line of thinking.
All right. For my next trick, gonna go away from PlayStation for a second.
Okay.
And I'm gonna say a thing that has been discussed quite a bit, but has never happened. Almost surprisingly, Microsoft comes to the stage. And I like
more of the setting the stage
setting them up now.
It's a little more hype.
I'm going to do it now. They come to the stage and they basically, lights go down. And you hear what can only be described as the sound of a ghost drive by.
Drive by?
Yeah. Ghost is a vehicle in a certain game.
Oh.
You hear a ghost drive by, then you hear another one drive by, then you hear an ATV drive by, then you hear all these things going, and it pans up, and there are 100 Spartans on the field. They're doing Halo Battle Royale.
Oh.
I think that game is a game that can translate really well to Battle Royale. I've played Master Chief Collection in the last year quite a bit, and I think it would really set itself apart. I know people are tired of Battle Royales. Final Fantasy just got a fucking Battle Royale on mobile, so, anything's possible. The gameplay, something that I've come to appreciate about Halo is the shooter gameplay is slower, but deliberately so.
Sure.
It's not like Apex and Call of Duty are great because they're so fast, right? They're so fluid.
Definitely.
Halo is a little bit more methodical, in my opinion, and I think that could almost usurp sort of a PUBG type battle royale, but with grav lifts, with hammers that you can find in certain places with drops or something. I think all of the world elements are there for a really solid battle royale, and I think that's something that could be really, really profitable for Microsoft.
I think you're right. I think there's already kind of a proof of concept of, I mean, even in like Fortnite, there is like the 50v50 like team mode or whatever. You kind of already see that with like, I forget the huge giant map in Halo, like what it's called. But with, vehicles and all that kind of stuff.
Well, there's Valhalla in Halo 3. That's the one I always think
that's
of.
the one that I think of.
That's the one that has the grav lifts on both sides that you can just shoot all the way across the map. Yeah.
So you already kind of have like that as sort of a baseline. It's just like scale that up a little bit. You can do a 50v50, but then it doesn't take much more beyond that to just make it a full-on battle royale.
Yeah.
And the idea of Halo Infinite. Correct me if I'm wrong. The idea for this game is that you are on a Halo, which, having not played a ton of Halo, I don't know much about the lore of Halo.
Yeah.
But the Halo, these rings in space, whatever.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure Halo Infinite is like you're just exploring or doing your whole thing like on this one Halo.
Oh, okay.
And imagine like the Halo being like the battle royale arena. That would be really cool.
Yeah, that would be really cool.
Yeah, I mean, doesn't seem like they're doing much else exciting with Halo right now. So I mean,
That's
whatever it takes. Just, I'm so fascinated to see how that game turns out.
Me too. I don't think it's gonna be good, man.
You have to think it's gonna be good, but it's just comparatively like
that. But
when was the last?
So bad.
Yes, you're right. When was the last like great Halo game?
This is gonna be very divisive.
I loved 4.
4 was my thought, but probably Reach.
Yeah. See, I played some of 3.
I love 3.
But I played a lot of Reach and I played a lot of 4.
Yeah, I played most of 3, ODST,
yeah,
Reach, and 4.
Yeah,
Reach
is definitely. I played a lot of Reach. Reach was a lot of fun.
Reach had some really fun multiplayer maps.
But never touched 5. Heard less than stellar things about it.
Yeah.
So I'm not, definitely not going to buy an Xbox to just play Halo at this point.
No,
so
nor am I.
We'll see if they can turn our expectations around.
Yeah.
All right. My next one. This is one that, our friend Skinny, who we reference often, me and him are in the same frame of mind about this one.
Okay.
And I'm not going all hype about this one because I don't know how you present this super hype. Well, I guess you could. You could have the opening Pokemon cinematic of the briefcase opening, but you're picking. It shows up and it's Charmander, Bulbasaur, Squirtle. And then once you pick, it scales up, and instead of being, your top down, 2D, whatever, it's the open. You walk into Pallet Town,
right?
You're walking around. It is open world Pokemon, but in this case, it's pretty much Pokemon Fire Red or the Red era, just remade in a 3D landscape. The dollar amount that I could put on this, it would be a lot.
I'm all in on this. I know some people are like, oh, roll their eyes. They're just remaking red and green again. But that is still, in my opinion, the best Pokemon game.
Yeah,
and
I agree.
It's nostalgic for so many people. Even people who maybe have fallen out of gaming.
Yeah.
Right? Because they had a Game Boy as a kid, whatever. I think the argument is always there. I know Let's Go was kind of that, but it wasn't. It definitely wasn't. Don't pretend that it is. I just hate when people are like, oh, they did it with Let's Go. No, they didn't. That is not a Pokemon game. That game is one of the worst $60 I've ever spent.
Really?
Yeah, it's just...
I contemplated getting one of these the other day.
No, don't.
Okay.
Just get Sword and Shield if you want a Pokemon game on Switch. Because Let's Go is like baby's first Pokemon.
Yeah, I knew that's kind of what it was.
To a point where it's annoying. And it's just like, I don't want to just throw a ball. It's just Pokemon Go in video game
that was
form.
the thing that really
I don't want to
pissed
throw
me
a ball
off.
and catch them. You don't even fight, really. You just press one button and it's like a whole... Or maybe there were attacks. I don't remember. I tried to block this game out of my memory. But I would love a red reboot in the Sword and Shield style.
Yeah.
Because there's so much iconic landscape potential with the first generation that I would be all in.
And like I said, I was really bummed to hear that the Diamond and Pearl remake/remasters were not that.
Yeah.
To see that they were just the 2D games sort of reskin, I was like, oh, that's a bummer. But I'll still probably play those just as I did love those games too, but nothing surpasses my nostalgia for Fire Red specifically. So seeing that game with a new coat of paint would be amazing.
Okay. My next topic. What are we on here? 6? Is this number 6?
I stopped counting, but
2, 3, 4,
I've got
this will be number 6, I believe.
3, 4, 5. Yeah, I've got 5 more.
Okay, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 more. So I need to start narrowing down.
You got one on the chopping block.
Well, no, not counting this one. So I have 2 on the chopping
Gotcha.
block. Okay. Mine is it's a Nintendo Direct.
Mm-hmm.
And they put up on the screen a couple games you've heard of. Maybe they put Super Mario 64 on the screen. They put Ocarina on the screen. They zoom out a little bit. There's some other N64 titles. They zoom out a little bit. And then there's some DS titles. They zoom out a little bit. There's some 3DS titles. I want Nintendo Virtual Console on the fucking Switch. It makes literal no sense how they haven't done it yet. They did it on the Wii U. Why do they not do it on Switch? I know that they're never going to do it because they're going to make more money doing it's a remaster, even though it's just an emulator.
Yeah.
Like, I know they'll make more money that way, and it bothers me, but there's so many games, especially with 3DS, where I really want to play something like Link Between Worlds. And I have no way to play it. I have no way to stream it. There's no way to play that game other than emulators, which is probably the way I'm going to have to play it. And that's just Nintendo forcing my hand.
Yeah.
I just want them to make their system more open for people to play older games, and they know there's value there. They've exhibited that with like the Super Mario collection and stuff. So why not open it up? I don't even need an Ocarina Majora remaster, which would be cool. Just let us play those games on Switch and take them wherever we want. It's an easy. You already have the emulators built in. Whatever.
Yeah.
I think it's a simple solution, and Nintendo makes confusing decisions all the time. So.
Yeah, it's interesting because if you put me in a corner and you said which company has the most valuable exclusive titles, it's Nintendo.
No, without a doubt. And
they they benefit from that because they don't really need much of a value proposition beyond that.
Yeah.
Like if you ever, if something really bizarre happened and somehow Mario is suddenly on all consoles, maybe they would have to make some kind of move to compete with the likes of Game Pass and PlayStation Now, whatever. But until that hand is forced, I agree with you. This is extremely unlikely, but would be so easy to do that it is frustrating that it probably won't be done.
And you can't tell me that if they sold each of these games, which they've done, this is just the reason they've done before, at $10 a pop.
Yeah.
And just put an emulator on a store or put a ROM on a store and have the emulator built into the Switch, that wouldn't make an insane amount of money. It would just make so much money. It's so easy. And Nintendo is so frustrating for the way they approach stuff sometimes, and that's one of them.
I would, love to go. That would be a great way for me, who doesn't feel like expending so much effort to go play a lot of these old games that I never had a chance to.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm not, because it's, I don't want to put in that much effort. I probably never will play some of these games, but it's out there, in the ether, this idea, clearly. A lot of people have been saying a lot of things like this before. So
yeah, I'm not the first to say it.
So we'll see. Probably that it won't happen. But my next one, okay, I got to think about how I can totally make this cinematic in my head.
I love that this is what we're doing now.
Obviously, the lights go down.
Yeah, all of our, even though there's not been a presentation where lights are even on. They're all just like directs and shit now.
Well, I think it was whatever that really incredible Sony E3 presentation.
The God
I think
of
it was
War
2017
is what I was going to say.
I think it was 15 or 16.
Oh, okay.
But I remember Sean Layden being 17. Like, please enjoy the show, and then walking off, and then you just know that there's like 10 trailers just start coming right at your face.
Yeah.
This would be one of those times, like, please enjoy the show, and he walks off. And then, like, lights go down. And you hear, what would you hear? I guess you would hear maybe something like, I apologize for the accent in advance, but like, Captain Price.
Oh.
And then you see Soap and Captain Price, going to war or whatever. But instead of, because they already remade Modern Warfare 2, the story.
Yeah.
Which, could you have done a worse thing to piss off a fan base more than to announce Modern Warfare 2 remastered story only? Give me Modern Warfare 2 multiplayer remastered. Give it to me. I don't need anything more than those original maps, just looking a little glossier.
Yeah.
Don't give me any of your weird guns. Give me all of the same stuff. Just looks better, plays on PlayStation 5 or whatever on modern consoles.
Yeah.
I don't want anything new. I don't want anything weird. I don't want any new game modes.
You sound traumatized.
Call of Duty is always fun. The core of that game, the gameplay is immaculate. But just they go weird places sometimes that I've never needed anything more than what I got out of this one game. So if I can snipe people with an intervention on Afghan from that little cliff, and if you played that game, you know what I'm talking about.
I don't, but I love how into it you are.
That's all I want. That game, no frills, remastered. Mic drop.
How do you say no? I like it. I started with Black Ops, so that was the game before I got into Call of Duty. Okay. Let's go. It's just funny. Let's go down. We are at... Yeah, what conference are we at? Oh, that's interesting. Let's say we're at Microsoft, I guess.
Okay. Crackdown 4.
Yeah, you got it. Terry Crews is back. Let's go down. And we fade up on what just basically looks like a cubicle. Just like an office setting.
Okay.
There's like some glass and some just random stuff around. And you just hear... I love... These are all audio cues, by the way.
Yeah.
And I don't even know how this would work, but just like, hello, welcome back to the testing room. And it's GLaDOS.
Oh,
and they're finally fucking doing Portal 3, which is so funny that we brought up Portal earlier.
Yeah.
Because I did not know that was part of the Video Game Hall of Fame thing. And I wrote, this is one of my first things I wrote down. Because when I look back on games that I really want to get a sequel, that's near the top of my list. Portal 2 and Portal are just, for all the reasons we listed earlier, are so unique. And I personally think, I've never played a Half-Life game, but I think from an outsider's perspective, if you're not like super into Half-Life or whatever, Valve is at their best when they're making puzzle games.
Sure.
And when they're making Portal, quite frankly. And that game is still so unique. There's not been many games like it that I just think it would make the most sense in the world. I'm not saying it be an Xbox exclusive or anything. I'm just saying I want it announced somewhere for all the places, and just give me Portal 3.
Yeah, it's like I said, I've never played them. I don't know if I could name a Valve game that I've played.
You ever played Team Fortress?
Nope, never did. Never played any of the Half-Lives.
If you haven't played those or Portal, it's probably...
Yeah, Portal seems like the most accessible.
Yeah.
But I still never have gotten, around to it.
Team Fortress was fun.
But just knowing on reputation alone how good Portal is, and like the tone where it's like funny,
but
sort of like, I know it can
that'd be up your alley, dude.
But gets kind of dark. I know. I've watched some like scenes from Portal like on YouTube before, and I'm like, I know I would like this.
Yeah, that's
I'm not
so
like
up
a
your
puzzle game aficionado, but like I know I would like these games.
Yeah.
I would. That would give me the incentive to go back and play the first two, however I could get my hands on them.
Yeah.
So I'd be down for that 100%.
Hell yeah.
All right, 100% on this one. Lights go down.
The energy bill is expensive in our conference.
You hear the gravelly Southern Texan voice.
Oh.
You ready to do this? And then you hear...
That was a pretty good duel.
Thank you. And then you hear a probably 30-ish-year-old woman reply, let's go. Just pans up.
Yeah.
We're with Joel and we're with Tess.
Okay.
This is the Last of Us interquel. Is what I'm going to call it. I don't know. That's what I wrote because I couldn't think of a good word to describe the game where you play in the 20-year period.
Because it's not technically a prequel because the beginning of Last of Us 1. Okay,
so you play in that 20-year period time jump in Last of Us 1.
God damn it, you got me.
See, that would...
I'm in.
Okay, and how spoilery can we get for Last of Us 2?
I wouldn't get super spoilery.
Now, I'm not going to, but I would just say, like, if you've played that game, you're like, people know you play that game as Ellie, right?
Yeah.
I missed playing as Joel.
Sure. Yeah.
So I would want a game where I could get back into Joel's shoes. And I think that's probably the most opportune time to be like, okay, you're seeing Tess's relationship and his develop. You maybe meet Bill that first time that's alluded to in the first game. There's so much potential, especially if you're playing early. And we can spoil Last of Us 1 because it's old. You don't want to?
I would still steer away from major spoilers.
I was just going to spoil the beginning, if that's a little...
Just say, we know what happens in the beginning.
If you hit on the beginning of Last of Us, but it doesn't really matter. I would want to play in the immediate wake of the outbreak and just see how the outbreak develops from Joel's perspective and how he falls in the ranks with these, like sort of hunters that are doing their own thing. Like, it's just so much cool storytelling that has to be there in that period of time. Seeing the Fireflies develop, seeing these quarantine zones develop would just be so cool. So I want that game.
Yeah, I'm with you. I sat and thought, and I was like, Last of Us 3 isn't happening. I don't think.
I don't think it is.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't even know. Well,
in some form or another.
We can get into that in another podcast.
Sure.
But and maybe it is, but I don't think that's I don't think that's what Naughty Dog's doing next.
No.
And I trust me, I hope that Last of Us 3 is happening. I just feel like there was a very sort of clear-cut ending to The Last of Us 2 that made me want to think the series.
A note, I started to put Factions as a standalone game on here, but it seems like that's happening.
Yeah.
So,
I can't wait, dude.
Me neither.
I miss Last of Us multiplayer so much. No, I'm super in. It would be even interesting to see that formulation of the relationship with Tess, right? Because
definitely.
That would then make Last of Us 1 more
that
impactful.
Much better,
And I'm not a huge fan of prequels, just the idea of prequels, especially in movies, because there are only so many certain stakes that can happen, right? Like, Tess isn't going to die in the prequel because Tess is in Last of Us 1, right? So, that kind of thing is like, that would be interesting in this world in what characters they do play with in that regard, but I would still be so into it. And I think one of the great things about The Last of Us is the relationships you form with the characters.
Yeah.
And seeing maybe one of the less, even though I love Tess in Last of Us 1, her story isn't a huge percentage of that game. So fleshing out that character and those two specifically would be really interesting.
Yeah, and there's a lot of speculation of like, what was Joel and Tess's past relationship?
Yeah, like what were they?
Were they romantically involved? Are they just like partners and maybe they like sort of had romantic encounter? You never know. It's like semi alluded to because they kind of get flirty like at one point, but you never know. And just seeing, how, or like, it would be so interesting to see like, if they were romantically involved, like what would have caused like a falling out of that? Like, there's
why were they not
so
still?
interesting. There's so many questions, and that's, you hate sequels that answer questions that you weren't asking, but these are questions that I have been asking, or
I'm asking.
We're huge fans of this franchise, so like, this is one of those questions like, I wonder what happened in that 20 years. You want questions that you have been asking to be answered, so that's my answer to that.
I like it. I'm all in. I mean, you had me sold at Joel's voice.
Yeah.
But,
you ready to do this?
Okay, we only have two left, right?
3.
1, 2, 3, 4. No, I've done 8.
Really?
Yeah, I did.
1?
Oh, no. Sorry. I'm sorry. We have 3 left. I put a check mark beside Splinter Cell because you said it.
Gotcha.
So this is number 8. Okay. I have a little more time to play with then. All right, let's go down.
And you can include one if you could just, because I hit on Splinter Cell, if you want to count another one, feel free.
Oh yeah. No, I'm gonna do 10 still. That's why I put the check mark there. Let's go down.
Mm-hmm.
And we are at EA's conference. And
too bad.
Yeah, well, they can do something.
They can. They always can, and they never do.
Yeah. You just hear like, just slowly. This is just a music track fading up. It's just. I reminisce. And you hear sneakers scuffing and like basketball bouncing.
Yeah, you see like a shot of like just from legs down doing like a crossover behind the back, like something crazy.
And NBA Street 4. We played NBA Street literally like yesterday. That game is still good. EA obviously wants to monetize their NBA license they can have because they tried NBA Live and it sucked. And the NBA isn't opposed to giving them a license. And I know there was NBA Playgrounds or whatever. That's not the same game. It's way worse. And I think not only would this be awesome, but the revitalization of the EA Sports Big franchise or just a counterpart of the games would be so good because I know there have been certain things that have been arcadey sports games, or like Rocket League is kind of an arcadey sports game, but arcadey sports games in general have kind of gone the way of the dodo. There just aren't as many of them anymore. I would love NBA Street back. I would love NFL Street back. I would love any sort of just like sports in an arcadey fashion. You can see it work. People are hyped for Mario Golf. People are hyped for Mario Tennis.
Absolutely. Yeah.
There is something... there's something so fun about sports games that aren't simulations.
Yeah.
And I just think this makes all the sense in the world, and I want it really bad.
It's a shame that, like, you know, the age of NBA Street 2 was not the age where, like, online multiplayer was so prolific.
Oh, I know.
Lord, would it have been so fun to do, like, game breakers in people's faces. Like, yeah, I agree with you, because NBA Street is just, and, you know, you say it's still good. Like, it has aged, but obviously, like, a modern version, like, there's you don't have to put in like the intense, you know, simulation aspects that you do with like a 2K or an NBA Live or whatever. You're just trying to make it feel good and feel fun.
Yeah.
And incorporate the cartoonish elements that game had. That would be so much fun. I agree with you.
I'd lose my shit.
All right. I'm actually going to rearrange. I was going to go in a certain way, but now there's one I'm going to leave till the end because I've got two here back to back that are just related.
Okay.
Obviously. The lights go down. We are at Sony's conference.
Hell yeah.
You look up at the screen.
Our bread and butter.
And all you see is a lightning strike.
Okay.
But it forms, instead of a question mark, a 3.
Yeah.
Infamous 3. With Cole. Cole's back. The lightning... I like the idea of the... So there are two endings to Infamous 2, and it's debatable which one is like canon.
Yeah.
But I like the idea of like the canon ending being the one where he is, you know, Zeke takes him out on the boat, and that I love the idea of that lightning strike actually happening and like reviving him. I think that's super cool. So I would love to. I don't know where it would be set. I would like it to be set, you know, in like a new location. Like they jump from Empire City in the first one to New Marais in the second one to you know, make it some new city. Maybe like a, I guess you go city swamp, maybe like a deserty or like foresty, more like something different. And it's not, I don't think this is going to happen, obviously, because Ghost of Tsushima was successful. They seem primed to make Ghost of Tsushima 2. Yeah. Which is another game that it's interesting to think about what that game could possibly be about. You know, you drive off the Mongols. It's like, now what? Yeah. You just roam the island. I just want Infamous 3 so bad. Infamous was so formative of my love for like open world action type games and superhero stuff. Obviously, I'm a huge superpowers fan, and it's what's cooler than being able to just run around a city and just control all of the electricity that's running through this city. Yeah, I want Infamous 3 about as bad as I want any new game. Period. Yeah, this was one of those games that I thought of, and I knew for a fact you were gonna do it, so I didn't. Yeah. But yeah, no, I'd be so hyped, and that is one of those. I get that Sony has Spider-Man, and they would be like, well, why do we need our own superhero when we have... You obviously need him to be your lead guy in PlayStation All-Stars
Battle Royale 2, yeah. But I think, you know, even if it's just called Infamous, which I know will make some people mad, but giving it almost a God of War treatment in a way of just like, let's go back and polish something that was already great and make it amazing. Yeah. And I think Infamous, of all their properties, might be the most primed for that. I was trying to think of what do they go back and give that treatment to, and I think Infamous has the most groundwork laid for. The gameplay is already really fun. That's what God of War had. The gameplay was already really fun. Let's build a story around it. Let's build a world around them. And I just think, I think it makes all the sense in the world, especially with how hot superheroes are anyway, that you could pitch that in a board meeting and I think it would go over because they're like, well, superheroes do well in movies. Yeah. You know?
And I mean, like, it's not like, you know, it's kind of like you superheroes, you need to have a niche that are like, oh, if you're creating a superhero that can just fly around and is super strong, it's like, well, this is just a ripoff of Superman. Right. But it's not like people are, you go and you pitch Infamous 3. It's not like people are saying like, this is just a ripoff of Static Shock. Like, you know, Cole is his own pretty iconic character in his own right. Yeah. And I will make one slight note. You better get the voice actor from Infamous 1, not Infamous 2. Oh, yeah. The voice, it's so weird they changed the voice actor. That really irked me. It really did. Because, like, the Infamous 1 guy is like, it's this like gravelly guy, like street.
Super gritty.
Yeah, he like plays the character really well. And then they move on to the second one, and I don't want to disparage whoever the guy is that did the second one, but he's just like, I'm going to numerate. It's this weird, like,
it's
throaty
almost
kind
of pitched, kind of. Yeah, it's weird.
I didn't love his voice in 2, so keep the first voice actor.
I'm with you. I went back and watched some of the cutscenes from both of those games because, like, I don't want to play a PS3 game anymore, but I wanted to experience Infamous, and it's even more jarring now going back and just being like, oh wow, they did change the voice actor. It's so weird.
Those comic book cutscenes age super well, though.
Yeah, so cool. Still. All right. Lights go down. We see a screen and a bunch of logos just pop up. You see the Batman logo.
Oh.
You see Lord of the Rings logo. You see the Harry Potter logo. You see the Warner Brothers logo.
Now I think I know where we're going.
And we're at the PlayStation conference.
Yeah.
They counteract Bethesda's purchase by Microsoft by buying Warner Brothers games. This was the biggest thing I could think of because a couple of months back, there was a news story that Warner was looking to sell.
Yeah.
That was a legit thing. And I know they kind of backtracked and they're like, no, we're fine, whatever. But I feel like Sony is never going to be satisfied with the studios they own. And I know some people are like, and I get why people don't like exclusives. I totally get it. And in an ideal world, nothing would be exclusive. But bringing Warner into the Sony ecosystem, and not only the actual studios that develop Warner games, but also being able to give Warner properties to Sony studios is a really intriguing, mouth-watering idea. There's so many, even just like, imagine an Insomniac shorter Animaniacs game. Like just shit like that could just be 3 hours, but it would be so interesting to try. And I think that Warner does a good job of knowing what games or what franchises to turn into games. And I think Sony would also take care of that really well.
Definitely.
And again, I just think Sony will be looking for something to combat the Bethesda thing. And this felt like the most primed ready for that.
I think you can certainly argue that Sony treats their exclusives better than Microsoft.
Yeah, I would agree.
For the most part.
Or at least up until this point.
Sure.
I think Microsoft's getting a lot of the groundwork done right now with their studios.
Yeah. And I guess that's, I hadn't really thought, like, when you initially pitched it, I was like, oh, Sony gets the Hogwarts game, they get Arkham, whatever, they get Suicide Squad, these games that are already announced, whatever.
Yeah.
But I hadn't really thought about, you could just shuffle around these licenses and make, you could, I guess, depending on whatever falls under, like, the Batman property, like, you could send off and make, like, a Nightwing game that's just different, like, something that's not already, like,
it would be interesting to see, which I guess Sony owns Spider-Man's license, right? They don't have to appease Marvel in any way. Is that right?
I don't know exactly how that relationship plays out.
Because it would be interesting if they owned DC properties and also had Spider-Man, but I mean, if you're going to buy into two different markets, that's the market to buy into.
For sure. It's interesting, too, because there was the hot speculation when that was happening was that Microsoft was going to buy WB.
Yeah.
Everyone knew Microsoft was in the hunt to buy something.
Yeah.
Just no one in their right mind thought it was going to be Bethesda.
Yeah. And that's still so shocking.
It is. But yeah, I mean, anytime you get something like that that's like, you root for the side that you play on.
Sure, of course.
So anytime you can be like, we have the leg up now. Screw your Elder Scrolls, screw your Doom and Fallout or whatever. We get Harry Potter. Something like that.
Right.
Yeah, that would be super cool. So anything to bolster that exclusive library on my side is cool.
Yeah.
All right. I'm not going to say lights go down for this one because no one's going to get nearly as hype over the last one, just because this one's still realistic and literally just ties into the other one. I just want Infamous 1 and 2 remastered.
Oh.
I just want Infamous 1 and 2 again.
Yeah, I think that's so feasible.
It has to be. Think of all the games that we have seen get remastered. Like,
we got Demon Souls remastered.
Exactly.
And it was awesome.
And Demon's came out in the same year as Infamous 1. Oh. 2009. I'm almost positive. So it's not like this is like... It's not like it's too far gone.
Right.
It's not like it's difficult to remake a, open world. Like, we've seen games like that remastered before.
Yeah.
I just...
Give it to Blue Point.
You don't even have to give it to Bluepoint. Like, Bluepoint's got better things to do, if I'm being honest. Probably.
I don't know, man. That's a good thing to take
every time that, you hear these whisperings of, like, what's Bluepoint working on next?
Right.
That's always my default. It's like, just please let it be this.
Yeah.
And I will also say, too, if it's only 2, I would be really bummed. But part of me could really see that happening, like it only being 2. And like 1, I went back and played 1 not too long ago. I think on PlayStation Now, actually. Okay. And just streamed it, and I was like, it definitely is a little more antiquated than I thought it was.
Sure.
The movement's not as crisp, and like your aiming and your projectile stuff. It's not like it kind of has shooter mechanics, but they're definitely not as good as like other shooters.
Right.
But I don't care. Make it prettier. Just, you don't have to do any sort of substantial remaking of it. Give me a full trophy list and I'll go to town. That's all I want.
Yeah. No, I don't have much to add. I think.
Yeah. I think that's a very This is one that's close to my heart.
I would buy it day one. Yeah. I think it's one of their best licenses they don't capitalize on right now.
Yeah.
And I think that is all studios are trying to do is, what do we have that we can bring back? And that makes the most sense in the world to me.
Yeah, just thinking about the marketing of like, in the, because Tsushima came out, was it last year? It was last year. Mm-hmm. In the fervor of, Marvel, the MCU is hot. And you're putting out a game called Ghost of Tsushima. A feudal Japan, which is a great game.
It's a good game. Yeah,
I really love
you're not
Ghost
trashing
of Tsushima.
Ghost anyway.
But I'm like, you couldn't have capitalized less.
Right.
So,
could you imagine an infamous ad before a Marvel movie?
Oh,
it makes so much sense.
That'd be so beautiful.
All right. This is my last one. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is number 10.
Yep.
Lights don't go down. Instead, Mark Cerny walks out on the stage. He's like, "Hello, everyone. My name is Mark Cerny." Mm-hmm. And I just wanted to do my Mark Cerny impression. I did a bit one time on stream of Mark Cerny ordering a pizza. And it's one of my proudest jokes. Anyway, so I
would like your low-fat pepperoni.
Yeah, I was like, a pepperoni from the pepperoni region of Italy. Mark Cerny comes out on stage, and he's like, we're always trying to advance hardware here at PlayStation. We gave you PSVR. It's something people didn't think was feasible, but we did it. We gave you the PS5, the most powerful console on the market. We gave you the flash storage that's so revolutionary that PC is trying to catch up. Sometimes you have to look back to look forward.
I was going to say, sometimes to move forward, you got to go back.
And we have seen the popularity of the Switch. People like their games on the go.
You
Give
lunatic.
me Vita too. I want it. I love the Vita so much. I still have mine and still play it from time to time.
I just like, what would be on it? Like, what would you play?
You would just put...
Well, you could make remote play a lot bigger of a thing, for sure.
Without a doubt. You put any of your smaller indie or something like Super Hot or things that can run on a PS4. Maybe it wouldn't be power equivalent to a PS4. I'm not crazy. But I think it would be at least power equivalent to run lower PC setting stuff. Make it larger so that you can have more PC computing.
Yeah.
Make it more Switch size than like the smallness of the Vita. Trophies on the go is still such an appealing thing to me.
Definitely.
And they have enough studios that they could have a side team at their studio working on a little Vita game. I don't think that you need... Like, Uncharted Golden Abyss is what everybody points to as like, oh, that's the Vita game, right? And that's okay. I'm cool with exclusives happening, but I don't think it's necessary.
Sure.
I think the PlayStation ecosystem is so large now that if you just put PlayStation Now games that you can stream on there, and you put just some of your lower reduced visuals exclusives on there, like you could totally play Resogun or something like that on there. I know that's not the greatest seller in the world, but I miss carrying around my Vita. I take my Switch home, but it doesn't have the same appeal to me because I'm not working on trophies, and maybe it's just trophies driving me insane. But I want another PlayStation Portable, whatever it would be called.
Yeah, Vita sort of burned out. I have a Vita, and it's just one of those things that it's just never hooked me. There was no like killer app that I'm like, I need to play this. I never even played like Golden Abyss or
I played a little bit of it.
A lot of like the bigger name games that came out.
Yeah.
Because it always just seemed like a lesser quality version of games that I already like, even if it was a different game. Like Golden Abyss is not Uncharted 2, 3, 4 levels of quality. No. Just like the ones that I always see or that I think about is like the Assassin's Creeds that were on Vita.
Liberation or whatever. Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't want to play this kind of game.
Sure,
like,
yeah.
On the go.
I would rather.
I want to play Peggle 3.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
Exactly. I would rather be more like a backlogs and indies kind of thing. I still think there's a small chance they do it because the Switch is so successful, but
that's
I doubt
true.
it. I doubt it's happening.
Yeah, I doubt it. I mean, I don't think they would. It seems like their secondary hardware team or whatever it is just PSVR 2 focused, for better or for worse. I might rather have a Vita 2 than still a VR headset that still has a big cord like tethered to the console.
Yeah, I would too.
But yeah, I don't picture that going well for you if it ever did happen. but
hey, man, trophies on the go.
All right, my last one.
Yeah. I
don't know if this is really a lights go down, but it's a. And I don't know where it would happen.
I like that it's a phrase now. A lights go down.
Yeah. But who could walk out?
Well, we should just produce an E3.
It would be great.
It would.
If you gave me a blank check, I guess it would suck if you didn't have the games that you wanted to.
Sure.
But if they were like, okay, you get to pick like 3 of the games
that we're working on right now.
Fine. Like I'll give you a hype conference. It'll be on every website you've ever seen.
I think we could do it. I am very critical of some of those conferences, and I know it's a Dunning-Kruger effect where it's like you think you can do anything that you don't know how to do, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, there's got to be stuff in the works that would be hype, and they just have to have it waiting somewhere. Anyway, go ahead.
So you see, no, screw it. Lights go down.
Yeah.
And on the screen, it's blackness, but then all of a sudden you hear like a little guitar riff, and you see the fretboard come into focus.
I knew that the sound effect you're doing was the start of Guitar Hero, like the.
Yep.
That was the sound you were emulating.
And why
is that iconic?
It's like I think I don't know if that was in was that the same sound in 1 and 2?
I guess
3 is my main touchstone. But basically it's like a medley of, you get I didn't play, what was the big one in Guitar Hero 1, a big song?
Oh, I don't even, Mother by Danzig was in 1, I think.
But you get like Mother, you're like, Mother.
Was Killing the name of one?
It was in one of them, I don't remember which. But maybe it starts with you see actually Guitar Hero 1 gameplay.
Okay.
And you hear a song from there. Cuts to Guitar Hero 2 and you hear Free Bird is rocking. Guitar Hero 3 and it cuts to 1 by Metallica and you see the triplets going on in that guitar solo. Cuts to Guitar Hero World Tour. I forget all these songs that are on World Tour. Cuts to Guitar Hero Metallica and you hear another Metallica song. And then it cuts to a Guitar Hero fretboard that you've never seen and it completely skips over Guitar Hero whatever the one the two sets of 3 fretboard.
Yeah, that was
just
weird.
Skip that one completely.
Guitar Hero Live.
That's what it is. And you see a new presentation. It's not ornate or anything, but then you see those same songs played again on this new fretboard.
Nice.
And it's Guitar Hero Ultimate.
Right.
It's basically the Smash Brothers Ultimate of Guitar Hero games.
We got everything.
We got everything. We got the old songs. It just becomes Guitar Hero the platform, where we're adding new songs.
I like this.
There are bring back guitar duels from Guitar Hero 3. My main thing though is bring back the classic 5-button Les Paul style controller, because there's no guitar. I've played a lot of these games. I've gone back to the old Guitar Hero 2 and the Gibson SG controllers. I've played a lot of Rock Band. I have Rock Band 4, and it's my only, at this point, outlet for this kind of game. Because it does. Kudos to them. They do have a huge library of DLC music. And
I would enjoy playing Rock Band.
Good amount of it. But nothing feels better than that classic, I'm going to say, Guitar Hero 3 controller. And I just want all of the songs that I could possibly get my hands on.
Yeah.
in that exact style. Obviously, the visuals can look a little different. You don't need, as much as I liked the weird story of you end up, slaying the devil in hell with your guitar, which was really fun. I don't need a story even at all. Like, right. I just need.
It's like the Rock Band story where you just go place to place.
I know, like Clone Hero is like the one a lot of people play like on streams and stuff, and I've watched a little bit of. I kind of just want that, or as close as you can get to that on consoles.
Yeah, legally.
Yeah,
I love it. It's funny we came back around to Guitar Hero, but that sound effect just it's just gonna be stuck in my head. But no, I think there is an argument, like Fuser did okay, I think. And
I bought it. I haven't played a lot of it, but
people like music games, and that is the ultimate one. So
yeah,
I'm all behind it.
I would just pay that. Those peripherals are just that Guitar Hero 3 controller. I don't know where mine went. And interestingly, I love that I had the Wii version of Guitar Hero 3, which is what I played the most, and it was a white guitar instead of that black guitar. But they're so cool. And as someone who actually has like a black Gibson, I just love that guitar, and I love that guitar controller. Yeah. So to be determined what our actual celebration will be if any of this ever happens.
Yeah, I'm sure it'll rank or rate.
But given the outlandishness of some of these, we have plenty of time.
Yeah, for real.
So Tanner, let's move on. Do you have a recommendation this week that you would like to give to the fine folks?
I'll think on it. You go first. Okay.
Mine was a simple one, and I'm pretty sure I probably recommended this on something way back in the day, and it's a game that it's kind of like Rocket League, that it just comes back to me every now and then, and I want to play a little bit of this.
Okay.
And here, I'll give you a little selfishness too. I would love for this game to see a resurgence in popularity somehow, so I can get the frickin' platinum, because it's one of those that's there's a few like online trophies that are like lacking. Tricky Towers.
Oh hell yeah, dude! That game's awesome.
Tricky Towers is like, I like Tricky Towers as much as I like actual Tetris, because it's comparable. It's the same, like,
I wouldn't go that far, but it's good. Yeah, it's really good.
Well, I like the, like, Tetris is confined. You're in this space, but there's no physics to Tetris.
Sure.
With Tricky Towers, it's like you have to build this tower that's like actually stable, and like winds are blowing or whatever. It's just very, very fun. And there's a trophy that I don't even know what you have to do, other than I know it's online, and it's just like drop the moon. I'm like, what is that supposed to mean? Yeah. It's a great game. If you're into Tetris, you would at least like it.
Yeah. If you need somebody to grind trophies with you, I'm down.
I just don't know. I think you would have to play like online matches against people that are like, you like win a race with like certain people. And
sure.
Like, those lobbies are dead. Let me tell you.
If we both queue up, might be a chance.
That's better than nothing.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Okay. My recommend is going to be a game that I think. Oh man, one of the announcements I didn't do, which I think will actually happen. The reason I didn't do it.
Oh, okay.
Hades coming to PlayStation. I think it's just a matter of time. I just want
it. Has to, right?
I just want it so bad. I would think so. But another game by Supergiant that I really like is called Pyre. It is their least acclaimed game, I think, because Bastion was sort of the first forefront, and people know Bastion because it was a really well received indie game. Transistor was a lot of people's favorite Supergiant game. I think most people have moved on to Hades, I have. But Pyre's a game that I came back to about a month ago, or maybe even longer than that, and it plays like a sports game, but it's got all of the great Supergiant hallmarks of like the amazing music, and the art style is beautiful, and the story's really interesting, and it's in this weird fantasy landscape where you're doing these things called the rights, which are basically your games, and the gameplay is there is a ball in the middle that you are trying to basically score at the other person's pyre. It's like a circular goal. And each character has different ways they can move around, and you can pass it and all that kind of stuff. But the idea is if you complete your rights for that, quote, like whatever it's called, but basically your season, then one of your party members gets to leave purgatory and go back to like their living life.
Oh.
And so it's all very high stakes in the story because people want to go back to living. And you choose who goes back. So it's like, okay, I really like this character, but I also really like how they play. So do I selfishly keep them, or do I send them off and learn about their story? It's really dope. And it's something I've been slowly chipping away at the platinum on. And I don't know. I think of all the Supergiant games, it definitely gets the least love. And I get why, gameplay-wise, it's like the least video gamey in a way, but I really love the grindiness of it, and I think it's great.
Yeah, it's like I've barely ever touched any of Supergiant's games.
Yeah.
But it's one of those studios that I know I'm like, I don't like your games, but I know you make good games.
Yeah.
Like
it's wild to me because I wouldn't have thought I would.
Yeah.
And I played Transistor on a whim and absolutely adored it. And then I liked Bastion a lot because I played Transistor, and I really liked Pyre, and then Hades is one of the best games of last year easily.
Sure.
And I'm like, Supergiant has slowly become one of my favorite studios, just because even though they don't make games that I traditionally would like, Hades is more my style than Bastion was, but they're so quality that it doesn't matter, and they're always fun.
Yeah, Hades is going to be the one, like, if it does come to PlayStation, I will try it, just obviously the acclaim of it, but I'm also, you always look for that game that has some sort of something that you can relate to. And I grew up really just into, I think Greek mythology is like super cool.
Yeah, me too.
So to at least have that sort of tether to say, okay, at least I can enjoy this part of the game, even if I don't, if the rest of the game is like, oh yeah, this is still the type of game that I don't love.
Yeah.
At least there's that. But at least, I have something to get me in.
I think Hades is the most pure fun Supergiant game, so I think you'll be okay.
Gotcha.
I think you'll like it.
Well, we'll be on the lookout for that. And that's going to wrap it up for this episode. I think that was a fun one. I love topics like that where we just get to throw all our harebrained ideas at the wall.
Yeah, me too.
We'll come up with more stuff like that. We already know what our next one is going to be, but we'll tease it a little. We tease it a little bit with talking about NBA Street.
Yes.
And I'm not even going to say anything else about that because that's going to be an interesting tease.
We also teased it
just
a tad with Monkey Ball.
You're right.
Very early on in the podcast.
Yeah. We might be, sometimes to move forward,
you gotta go back.
We'll see you all next time. For now, we're tapping out.